Welcome to A Call to Action, a series presented by Great Eastern Radio and Brattleboro Community Television. We're covering many different topics like distance learning and what the state is doing about the overflowing unemployment claims. Today, we're chatting with Jean Shafiroff. Jean is an ambassador for the American Humane Society, and she joins us today to talk about COVID in the animal world. I'm Peter Fish Case. Jean, welcome to A Call to Action.
Thank you for having me, Peter. And right now, people are concerned about the animals, but so far in the United States, there has only been one confirmed case where a dog has contracted COVID-19. And this dog is in North Carolina. Its owners, one was a pediatrician. Her husband worked in the emergency room of a hospital, and they came down with the virus, and then their son came down. And the only reason they found out that their dog was even sick was because they went into a study being conducted by Duke University, and the little dog tested positive. Meanwhile, they have another dog and a cat and then a daughter, and none of them came down with COVID-19. And what were the symptoms that the dog was experiencing? The dog had a little loss of appetite and then was making a little gurgling or goggling noise and was only sick for about 3 days. This is the only case in the United States where a dog has come down with COVID-19. There is not one case where a dog has infected a human being. Now, the CDC has put together some guidelines for people who own dogs. I personally own 5 rescue dogs. And so what does that mean? We have to the guidelines are to have your dog or your pet social distance the way you would. So we take our dogs out on a leash always. They suggest walking your dog on a leash and social distancing your dog from other dogs and people. So have your dog stay about 6 feet away from another dog or people that you might come into contact with when you walk your dog. Cats should stay in the house. And right now, the dog parks are places that you probably should not be visiting. They're suggesting that you stay away from the dog parks.
Okay. So basically now, and again, it all starts somewhere. So this would be a horrible thing if this was that went rampant as it has through the human population, through the pet population. But which is why I kind of wanted to jump on this a little bit with this interview and get this information out there. So
I don't think that's going to happen because here in the United States, we have over 1 million cases confirmed of the coronavirus. And we only have 1 dog in the entire country. Now, adoptions in places like New York City are way up. We've had thousands and thousands of people coming out to adopt in New York City. Out in Southampton, where I reside right now, I'm involved with the Southampton Animal Shelter. We are doing drive-through adoptions, which means people put in an application online, and after we vet them and approve of their qualifications to own a pet, they actually don't come into the shelter. We do a drive-through adoption where the person who wants to adopt comes up to the shelter and we bring the dog or the cat out to them. So there is absolutely not one confirmed case where a dog or a cat has given someone, an individual, coronavirus. So I don't think we should go into hysteria. There's only 1 dog in the United States that's come down with this, had very mild symptoms, did not get anyone else sick. The owners who worked in a hospital and one treating COVID-19 patients were initially the people who got the disease and then the virus and then gave the virus to the dog.
Okay. Well, yeah, and again, but I think getting the information out about how to, as you suggested, and I assume this is coming down from like the American Humane Society and the CDC of recommending not going to dog parks if you live in a densely populated area where your dog would normally enjoy to run free for a little bit. I live in Vermont, as we discussed. I've got nothing but wide open space to let my rescue to run around in, and he loves that. But if you are in a more densely populated area, practicing a little social distancing right now with your pet, not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea. And these are the CDC guidelines that came out, I believe, on April 20th. And I think we can all follow them very easily. And when we walk our dogs, we have them on leashes. Also, if your dog rolls around in the mud, well, you would do this anyway, but when you bring your dog back into the house, you should clean your dog.
Yeah.
And if your dog has grass all over him, the same thing, clean your dog.
Okay.
And I wouldn't worry about it at all, but I would exercise the caution you would exercise with yourself. The dogs don't have to wear masks. They're not required to wear little booties. I think we'll be fine. As I've said, only one case in the entire country.
All right. Well, it's good to know that it is one case. We did have towards the beginning of the month a tiger in the Bronx Zoo was
Correct.
was diagnosed, and then I think a few weeks later, a few house cats. So, it's only 4 cases, but I mean, I think if we just practice the things that we're practicing for ourselves, I think we can avoid that in the animal world, because we don't want our pets to go through this any more than we want to go through it.
Yes, and I don't think they will. And I think that most people exercise caution with their animals, their pets, because I'm a pet lover. I love my dogs, and they mean so much to me. So if you give an animal love, that animal will give you unconditional love in return. And so just follow the CDC guidelines and you should be fine. Do a little social distancing. If you sleep on the bed with your dog, you can continue doing that. And if your cat likes to cuddle up with you, that's great too. Unless you have COVID-19. Of course, if you're sick and you have COVID-19, then you shouldn't have anybody around you right now, including animals.
All right. Well, that was going to be my next question. I mean, since it is appearing a little bit in the animal world, you should completely isolate yourself. That includes your pets, and that could hurt.
That just makes sense. You don't want anyone or any other being to get sick from you if you have COVID-19. But the way to not get it is to stay home, and if you go out, wear a mask and gloves, and do a lot of social distancing right now.
Right. So, Jean, let me ask you some simple questions that will probably translate no matter where you're listening to this interview. And that's with the local humane societies, and they've had to kind of retool. You can't go in and see your pet, as you mentioned. The one where you are in Southampton is doing curbside. How can people support their local humane societies right now through this difficult time?
The best thing to do is to write a check. And a lot of people think, well, I can only write a $5 or $10 check. Well, all of those checks together, if everyone in the United States who had a job wrote a check to an animal advocacy group or to a shelter, it would make a massive difference. So never think that your donation is too small. And then, of course, wealthy individuals should be writing larger checks. And I have taken out my checkbook several times during this whole pandemic, and working not only with food pantries, but with animal rescue groups. And then I serve on a hospital board, and we have a COVID-19 emergency fund. And it's all very important to support all of these groups now. And certain individuals like to do their charitable giving at the end of the year. Well, I am suggesting to everyone not to do that. Do your charitable giving now. The need is now, and you can together we can make a massive difference. And extremely wealthy people, open up your checkbooks, open up your pocketbooks, and do the best you can to help those in need. And those in need, it's everyone right now. We have 26 million Americans out of work, and that translates into a lot of problems. It translates into problems where people can't pay rent or mortgages. It translates to they don't have food on the table. So there is a tremendous need right now in our country because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So be generous, do all you can. And also another way you can help is to pick up the phone and call people who you think are lonely and show a little compassion to those who might be very upset right now or might be living alone, or to an elderly person. A phone call can do a tremendous amount. And then if you have a neighbor who doesn't have food, you can drop off food to their home. I would suggest canned food or food that's fully wrapped, and do all you can to be a good citizen and to be someone who is showing concern and care for others during this very difficult time for all Americans and for people all around the world. Thank you.
Jean, words to live by. Thank you so much for jumping on a call to action with me today. We really appreciate you helping us get some of the information out and your good and kind words.
Thank you so much for having me. And we will get through this. We will get through this, and sooner than later, hopefully, but it will take a little time and we have to follow the rules. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.